to Agric Economy on ARSN Television, Mabushi Abuja, Nigeria. I am Khadija Oluwatoyin Amin. Today on Agric Economy, we shall take a look at agri development in Nigeria. Yes, when we say agri development, it's going to take us a bit down, memory lane of how the development started. Kind of, we know that agriculture started with mankind. That's what experts will tell you itself. But quickly, before we bring in our guest, and then let's take a quick short report on agri development in Nigeria. Stay tuned. In recent decades, the potential contribution of agriculture to economic growth has been a subject of controversy among developing economists. While some argue that agricultural development is a prerequisite for industrialization, others strongly disagree and argue for a different path. Agriculture as an indigenous occupation in Nigeria has gone through various phases of development. This development spans three phases from pre-colonial, post-colonial, and development phase. Taking advantage of the ordinary least square method, searches through secondary data and the use of independent variables, agricultural development, capital accumulation, inflation rate and interest rate reviewed the question of whether agriculture could serve as an engine of growth of the Nigerian economy. The result of empirical analysis shows that productivity in the agricultural sector has not significantly positively impacted on the economic growth of Nigeria. However, agriculture remains the largest sector in Nigeria, contributing to an average of 24% of the nation's GDP over the past 7 years, from 2013 to 2019. In addition, the sector employs more than 36% of the country's labor force, a feat which ranks the sector as the largest employer of labor in the country. Our government's role in agriculture is implementing agricultural sector policies, cooperating to realize food security and farmers' welfare, and making pro-agricultural sector policies. Despite the contributions to the economy, Nigeria's agricultural sector faces many challenges which impact on its productivity. These include poor land tenure system, low level of irrigation farming, climate change, and land degradation. These challenges, however, have been the reason behind the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's declaration of agricultural revolution, which has in turn begun to yield positive results. Welcome back. It's still the program Agric Economy on ARSN Television. Like I said earlier, we shall be taking a look at agri development. This, of course, is going to be all encompassing, looking at the pros and cons of this sector. To discuss this with us this afternoon is our guest, Mr. Gabriel Dakolo. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
When we talk agricultural history in Nigeria, they'll tell you that agric starts with the mankind himself.
Yes.
As you know, no man can live without food. Hence, you see that the early men, Homo sapiens and the rest of them, started with creating, should I say machineries, yes, like the hoe and hammer, so that they can, till the floor and then be able to get one or two things to eat. Looking at agricultural growth in Nigeria, or should I say, development in Nigeria, how would you say we're faring so far?
Agricultural development in Nigeria could have been better than what it is presently, but we are not far behind. When we look at where we are coming from, and when we look at the years of blood during the boom, the oil boom that made agriculture to be relegated to the background. In the 60s and 70s, where so much attention was paid on agriculture in Nigeria, we saw relative growth in agriculture, where Nigeria was shoulder to shoulder with so many countries in production of major crops like palm oil, palm kernel, cocoa, and so many of those products. And at those points, because of our dedication to agriculture, there were so many innovations, even at that time, that Nigeria embarked upon that made agriculture to be very successful. We have the Produce Marketing Board, we have the Agric Extension Services, we have at that time that we had regional governments. The regional governments were focused on their areas of strength as regards agriculture. In the western region at that time, we had so much focus on cocoa and some other products, agricultural products that the western Nigeria government or the states around the western Nigeria were producing, and it was excelling. But we can say notably that cocoa was one of the poster crops of western Nigerian government as at that time. And from history, we also know that it was so that the proceeds of cocoa that western Nigeria gained was what was used to build the cocoa house in Ibadan, on Oyo State, present-day Oyo State. Same can be said of the northern Nigerian government at that time, where we had millet, groundnut, and some other major crops that put Nigeria on the center stage at that time. And because of dedication to production, to farming practices, to research as at that time. But be that as it may, when we left agriculture in Nigeria and moved to oil and gas, so many of these innovations went to sleep. So many experts left Agric to look for other things to do, and agriculture was relegated to the background. Nigeria, that used to be the highest producers in some of these major crops, became just merely producing, and our agricultural export drive reduced drastically as at that time. So coming into the civilian government in the 80s and mixed with the military regime, they try as much as possible to make Nigerians, looking at our population, our increasing population at that time, to go back to the farm. So looking at 1979, when the then military president Olusegun Obasanjo came up with Operation Feed the Nation, they urged people, they made processes for people to go back to the farm so that we can be able to feed ourselves. And subsequent governments have been looking for agricultural expertise to be able to grow more crops for Nigeria and innovation. But in all this, even to this present regime, in all this, we discovered that allocations to agriculture has not allowed it to get to the stage where we can say Nigeria can compete favorably with other countries when it comes to agricultural produce, because situation whereby just 2-point-something% or 3-point-something% of the budget is allocated for agriculture has made agriculture not to progress as it should, and most of our contemporaries at that time has left us behind. So agricultural development in Nigeria is now having a new phase with the previous administration of President Muhammadu Buhari and this present administration of President Bola Tinubu, to see how we can ensure that agriculture takes center stage vis-a-vis other resources that Nigeria has, and agriculture become a major contributor to our gross domestic product, which is the GDP. So all the processes to get to that level started with the previous administrations, even from the Goodluck Jonathan administration to Buhari administration, and the present government declared what we call Agric revolution, and it is apt at this time to ensure that it's successful, because our population is burgeoning and we need enough food if we have to attain food security. So Nigeria cannot afford to stop innovation and to develop accordingly in line with global best practices when it comes to agriculture in Nigeria. If we want to look at some of the challenges that we have had, apart from funding, allocations to agriculture, we know that there are logistics problems. We know that research had challenges because funding research is also a major problem. And above all, the challenges of insecurity also has affected agricultural gains that Nigeria should have been enjoying presently. Because looking at innovations that are coming to agriculture, the number of arable lands per hectare that Nigeria has no business in having food scarcity, or we have no business having food inflation as high as over 30%. But that is the situation we find ourselves, mainly because of insecurity and other factors that are affecting agri-development in Nigeria.
Okay, looking at the sector as it stands today, there's been so much talk in relation to security.
Yes.
Nigerian security architecture, talking about the Nigerian military and the Nigerian police force and other sister agencies have said that they're doing so much in ensuring that security returns back to the farm. With the new greenhouse farm and everything, do you think Nigeria should look outside the regular kind of farm practices?
Before I talk about the new integrated farming practices, greenhouse practices in agriculture, we want to look at the capacity of Nigerians, the level, the poverty level, and the level at which agriculture has gotten to in Nigeria before we move to that greenhouse practice or integrated farming. One, according to statistics, we have over 150 to 180 million Nigerians in the poverty level. When we want to talk about extreme poverty, then we have over 100 million Nigerians out of the 200 something million. Extreme poverty. So, and at that time, or the belief of people, even at that time, is that an human being does not have any business being poor if he can farm. So it is believed that most people, a larger percentage of farmers in Nigeria, I'm using Nigeria now as a talking point, a larger percentage of farmers in Nigeria went into farming because of poverty, because they want to first feed their families and then see what they can get out of it. So if you look at statistics of farming practices in Nigeria, we have 70% of it is subsistence farming. This is the kind of farming that you need to just feed to sustain yourself and get a few to be able to get some funds to train your family, to be able to send them to school and do other things. So when we look at the capacity of Nigerians to be able to move from the traditional farming practices to integrated farming and greenhouse farming is non-existent. And that is why we're having challenges with integrated farming in Nigeria and greenhouse farming, because it is capital intensive, it is technology driven, and it is also, how do I put it, it also involves a lot of research so that you will be able to enjoy the benefits that comes with it. And Nigerians have not gotten to that level yet. Just like I told you, about 70% of Nigerians are practicing subsistence farming. If you want to look at commercial farmers in Nigeria, putting them in percentage, it's just about 2 to 3% of Nigerians that you can say are practicing commercial farmers, that are incorporated companies that are farmers. The other farmers that we can say they are large scale, they are in between. So when you look at an average Nigerian do not have the capacity to integrate or move into greenhouse farming or integrated farming. And the second reason why it is a bit difficult is, apart from capacity, is access to funding. Access to funding is another challenge for an average Nigerian that wants to say, okay, based on the knowledge that I have, I want to move into greenhouse farming. Because really, if we say there are disadvantages based on capacity, based on access to funding, there are tremendous advantages in greenhouse farming and integrated farming, because it completely eliminates insecurity, and it also ensure yield sustainability for anyone that practices it. But the challenges to arrive at that level is tremendous, and that is why even with all the challenges that people are facing in the farms, they still try as much as possible to go and do their farming or stay back at home. We have had instances, especially in the Connaught, where bandits dictate the amount of money you need to pay to register as a levy before you can access your own farm. So when you put that into perspective, anyone that is paying such levies, and in most cases they are huge amounts of money, immediately that person is able to harvest on the farm, those costs is also going to be added. And these are some of the things that are aiding food inflation, because the cost has not abated, whereas we are producing, so to say.
Okay, yes, we'll quickly take a break. When we return, we'll still ask our expert in the house to tell us, for those that want to migrate from the regular system of farming to the integrated farming, what should they put in place? Of course, not necessarily saying that you have to get your net and whatever, but the factors to put in place, we're going to tell you when we come back from the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. It's still Agric Economy on ARC television. And before we went on the break, like I said, for some people that feel okay, we have some space or we've relocated, because we know that because due to these security challenges, some farmers have relocated from their primary
Forests and
they have moved down to the town where it's perceived to be safe. If you're trying to move from the regular farming practice to the integrated kind of farm, what should we be looking at?
Just like I told us, the integrated farming is capital intensive. You need to have your capital in place to be able to engage in integrated farming. We also know that it does not require large expanse of land, because it should be a securitized area where you can be sure of the security, and also a place that is shielded one form or the other to ensure that the direct access to the sun, and also opportunity for other benefits around integrated farming. Why it is called integrated farming is that there are so many factors that are put in place to ensure multiple yields, and also to ensure, it's just like a refinery. When you put in crude oil, you get PMS, you get diesel, you get gasoline, all the works. So that's what integrated farming entails. It encourages multiple crop production. It does not only limit you to a particular crop. You can use in the integrated farming process, allows you to plant 2 or 3 different crops together using improved and advanced techniques and technology. So apart from having a sizable portion of land, putting security in place with your capital. You also need adequate technology and research to ensure that you know the time frame and the time lag for each and every of those crops that are being planted, and also adequate security monitoring. In some situations, some people even have drones to ensure that they are able to monitor what is happening. And also, there are some simple machinery, because of the compact nature of greenhouse farming, that you need to put in place to be able to move about without hindering crop production and affecting the growth of the plants, and also ensuring that you also have the capacity to have improved yields and pest resistant crops, seeds, so that at the end of the day, all the crops that you grow, you can be able to be satisfied at the end of the day that you can have 100% yield in harvest, and be able to also. And again, one thing you need to know, that integrated farming does not practice crop rotation or the rest. You can, as one cycle is going, another can begin, because that is why the technology is very, very efficient. So for anyone that wants to practice integrated farming, you need to do the research, study the kind of crops that you want to combine, and also the environment where you are. There are some crops that will not grow in a particular environment efficiently. You have to look at crops that can do well in that environment that you are, and also ensure that you put everything in place to have a seamless farming. I've gone to some integrated farms where they are planting tomatoes with the different types of pepper, and the growth and the size is amusing. Is amazing. You see tomatoes growing, the kind of the size of tomatoes and the different types of pepper you see there are not the ones that you see they are bringing that has stunted growth or very small or are not ripe. So you see that when you practice integrated farming or greenhouse farming, you have the capacity, or you have the advantage to have the best of the products. Some people are always afraid that maybe there are GMOs, and no. When you are practicing integrated farming, the crops, they have the best of sunlight, they have the best of water, they have the best of everything. So they do not have any other option but to grow, to give satisfaction to those that are producing it.
Okay, what impact will all of this be to the economy?
Now, if more Nigerians can move into integrated farming, it will be a major contributor to the economy. It's going to reduce, if not to the barest minimum or to zero, food scarcity. It's going to, despite insecurity concerns, going to make sure that there is food all year round. And the one that is amazing, the most amazing out of it, sometimes they will say, oh, tomato is out of season, this crop is out of season. It doesn't happen when you have greenhouse farming or integrated farming. So it will enable every type of crops that you need to be in season at every point in time. So that is why it's the way to go in this 21st century. If you look at countries that are practicing it, Israel, for example, despite the war that is going on, they practice mostly integrated farming, and they are flourishing. They do not even have food scarcity, despite the war that they are engaging in. And we have other countries like the United States and other countries that are practicing it, and it ensures that there is food all year round. That is the essence of integrated farming, and it makes you to maximize the use of a small space to have greater and higher yield.
Okay, yes, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we've heard it. Integrated farming, among other factors, are those that will help ensure that there is food all year round. And of course, it has a great impact on the Nigerian economy as it will increase the country's GDP. It's another note to wrap it up for this week on Agric Economy. Join us again, same time, same station next week. I remain your host, Adija, and watching and saying bye for now.